Hi guys, Jackie with Famish Farm, and we're back making our summer side dishes. These are things that I picked out that will go along great with any meats you've got grilling outside. Outside being the key. Keep that heat out of the house. I'm also starting to develop some very specific rules for summertime sides. This week I'm concentrating on keeping the heat outside, not using mayonnaise, and most importantly, using your garden fresh produce. We want to use that while it's at the peak of freshness, and this week I'm doing just that.
We need to preheat our grill and our cornstick pan to medium-high heat. So 15 minutes before you're ready to put the cornstick batter into the pan, turn on your burners to medium-high heat, put your pan that's been pre-sprayed into the grill, shut the cover. Now, while this is preheating, you can also grill the 2 small ears of corn that it calls for, so it's not going to be wasted time. You're going to grill those 2 ears of corn roughly 5 to 6 minutes, just till there is a slight char. While hubby grills the corn, I'm going to get the batter ready. We're going to use 2/3 of a cup of cornmeal and a 1/4 cup of all-purpose flour. I'm just using my small stainless steel bowl. It calls for a medium bowl. Use your own discretion. So we've got our flour and our cornmeal in here. Now we're going to use the baking powder, and you want a teaspoon of that. My baking powder is a little lumpy, so I'm just going to mix this together and try to get the lumps out. Then we're going to add some salt and black pepper. Hubby has brought the ears of corn off the grill, and so now I'm going to cut the kernels off of one of the ears of corn. I'm doing this into my little immersion blender container. We're going to puree that with the liquid ingredients, so we're just going to make this first ear of corn smooth. There's really no reason you couldn't do this with sweet corn out of the freezer, other than just the sweet corn coming out of the garden right now is so delicious. So I'm going to use my fresh sweet corn. The rest of our ingredients, the liquid ingredients, 2 tablespoons of honey, 1 large egg, and some buttermilk. We've got about a 1/4 cup. And we're going to blend that up. There's a little bit of buttermilk left in the cup, so I'm going to just put that in there too and blend it up. Hubby's also letting me know that the grill is ready, and so I kind of forget the next couple ingredients. So I forget the chives and the chopped jalapeno. Oops, I'm just in a hurry now to get this mixed up and get out to the grill. That other ear of corn is sitting here though, so be sure to cut the kernels off and add that to your batter and mix well. Now I see also, looking at the recipe, the final step is kind of making a compound butter using the rest of the jalapeno, some chives, and a little salt, pepper, and 2 teaspoons of the honey. So that probably would have been delicious brushed on these corn sticks. But guys, we just did it with a pat of butter over the top of them, and it was still very good. Now we're bringing our bowl with a spatula, and we're going to just move our corn muffin pan out from the grill a little bit so we avoid the top shelf here. And you're just going to simply fill the cavities and then smooth off the tops. These do rise just a little bit, so don't worry about keeping it overly smooth on the top. It's just, it doesn't matter. Now you're cooking the corn sticks over indirect heat. So hubby has turned off the middle burner. So this is now sitting on indirect heat. You're gonna get them filled up and then close the cover and set your timer for 7 to 10 minutes. The first check came at 7 minutes. I grabbed a toothpick. You'll notice I've got my high heat grill mitt on here, and these are not done yet. So we're going to close the door and try again. We check again at the 10-minute mark, and these are done. And then making sure you've got your grill mitt on, you're going to move these off of the heat and then let them cool in the pan for about 5 minutes. Now, I forgot about the cooling in the pan bit, so I almost wish I had taken these out at 9 minutes, but they still turned out good. So either way. So I'm not going to blame the pan on this or the recipe. Hubby did the spraying of the cooking spray on our cornstick pan, and so they came out with a little bit of persuading. They looked pretty darn good though in the process, so no complaint. Oh look, there's the jalapeno that should have gone into the corn muffins. And if I had finished reading the recipe right then, I could have used it to make that compound butter, which would have been delicious. Emily Weinberger, the author of this recipe, says that corn sticks are known for being crispy on the outside, which they certainly were, buttery and soft on the inside, and always served with a big pat of butter. So I had read that apparently, because that's what I'm doing, putting a smear of butter on the top of these. And then we serve them. We're having the chicken legs that you saw on the grill, and this is our 4th of July meal. It was delicious, guys. Wish you were here. I've been pulling zucchini off the squash plants out in the garden, and these are 2 just perfectly sized dinner portions for Rod and I. So we are going to start by cutting the tops and the bottoms off of the zucchini and slicing them. I do a generous, I would say, 1/4 to a 1/2 inch thickness on these. And we're going to use our grill pan, which I'll link down below. This recipe does things a little differently. They want you to cook these on the stovetop, which I said I'm not going to do. I'm going to do everything out on the gas grill. So instead of using chicken stock on the stovetop, we are just going to add some of your high temperature oil. I added about a 1/2 tablespoon of oil in a small bowl. I'm also going to punch up the flavor with about a teaspoon of dried Italian seasoning. And here's the oil that I'm using. I think this is just a vegetable oil this time. We're going to prepare our cheese mix for when these come off the grill. And these are best served right hot off the grill. We're going to do about a tablespoon of cheddar cheese and a tablespoon of Parmesan cheese. And that's per serving, so I'm doing a couple tablespoons of each of those. And then give them a little mix. We'll give our zucchini a mix too. Get those ready to go on the grill pan. We did lose a couple pieces of zucchini out of the end of the grill pan. So if you have one that has more crisscrossing on it, I'd recommend that. The straight slats don't work so great when your zucchini tries to escape out of your basket into the gas grill. And don't forget a sprinkle of salt and pepper too. These cooked on high heat for about 5 minutes on each side. Remember, these are best coming hot off the grill, throwing that cheese on them and serving them for dinner. If they sit, they're going to get a little mushy. So I've told you I'm trying to keep track of my pantry ingredients. I have not been able to find my red wine vinegar in ages, and I now possess 2 bottles, brand new, neither one opened, of red wine vinegar. So our first ingredient is 2 tablespoons of that, a teaspoon of Dijon mustard, a teaspoon of honey, and some extra virgin olive oil. And as I finish adding that and getting it all emulsified, I will tell you that she recommends using 2 pounds of ripe tomatoes, any and all varieties welcome. So let me tell you, I had cherry tomatoes, I had some slicing tomatoes, I used a couple of my paste tomatoes that were coming off my vines out in the garden. So definitely can recommend it with multiple varieties of tomatoes. This was delicious, and this is definitely going to be on my rotation for tomato season. The recipe called for a red onion. I just have this white onion, so we're just going to use that. And it calls for a 1/4 of a medium onion, very thinly sliced. Now, the only part of the recipe I don't understand is I don't know technically what macerating the red onions means, but I'm taking it, it means to kind of pulverize it into the dressing. So that's what I'm going to do. And then just set that aside for a bit. Now I'm going to weigh out my tomatoes. I'm going to do a combination of tomatoes, like I said, and I'm only making a half a recipe because it's just Rod and I. So we're going to get as close as we can to 1 pound of fresh tomatoes. Some of these Romas had some bad spots, so I'm going to cut those out. And then I'm going to use my slicing tomatoes that are left over from our BLTs the night before. The recipe calls for 1/2-inch slices on your big tomatoes and cutting your cherry tomatoes in half. I'm just going to cut them into bite-sized chunks. The recipe also wants you to artfully arrange them on a platter. As you can see, I'm just going to throw everything all together in the dish here with my dressing. We've also gone out to the garden and picked some fresh basil and fresh mint, about 1/4 cup of basil, and 2 tablespoons of fresh mint for the whole recipe. So I'm doing roughly half of that. And you're just going to cut these in very thin slices. If you can kind of roll them together and then cut very thin. And again, not much on finessing these kind of cuts, but I do my best to hack away with my steak knife. She also wants you to salt and pepper your tomatoes while they're on their platter. Again, I choose not to do that. Just add it all to the dish and mix. If you're doing it per her instructions, you will pour the dressing and onions over the salad and then use your hands to gently nestle the tomatoes in the dressing. Yeah, kind of fussy for me, but this, guys, was so good. And the key is that fresh basil and mint and having super ripe tomatoes. Very, 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 very good.
Guys, I hope you enjoyed those 3 recipes. Do you have any side dishes that you love to make in the summertime? Let me know what they are below. And if you have other kind of rules that you live by when it comes to cooking for the summertime, put those in the comments down below. I really hope you'll like, comment, and subscribe to the channel if you're enjoying our content. And we'll be back next week. We'll be in the garden, we'll be in the kitchen, might be down in the basement with all those boxes to declutter. But we hope you'll stick around. Thanks for being here.